I want to slow this Greenland saga down, slow it way, way down, because the headlines are a blitz of personalities and panic that miss the actual machinery grinding underneath. Trump tweets, strategic necessity. Rubio briefs Congress on purchase plans. Hegseth mulls military options. Denmark's PM Moot Egede calls it absurd. NATO experts whisper about alliance-ending annexation. White House floats payments to Greenlanders. Tariffs on Danish exports. Thule airbase leverage. Crisis? Invasion imminent? Or just 2019 redux? That surface story skips why this January 2026 push feels different. Melting Arctic, unlocking $1 trillion rare earths. Russia-China basing nearby. Shipping lanes opening like never before. I've tracked territorial power plays, resource grabs, and great power leverage for decades. And this isn't bluster. It's a calculated multi-vector squeeze on a system where Denmark holds legal title to 836,000 square miles, bigger than 3 Californias. But the real asymmetries in economics, military presence, and local discontent create paths forward. Assume outright purchase fails, as it did before. What opens? Not fantasy invasions. Arithmetic of coercion, adaptation, and reconfiguration. Let's map every lever, every countermove, every hidden cost. Because when ice melts, power flows to those who calculate deepest. Start with the surface logic that hooks everyone. Trump frames Greenland simple: America's backyard, undefended frontier. 56,000 residents, 80% Inuit, sit on neodymium, dysprosium, graphite, uranium deposits worth $1 to $2 trillion at current prices. Critical for F-35 magnets, EV batteries, missile guidance, AI chips. Arctic melt opens Northwest Passage, shorter Asia routes, ice-free bases. Russia rebuilds 50 Soviet-era outposts, deploys hypersonics. China mines Kvanefjeld, eyes deep water ports. National security pitch lands hard if you're scanning satellite maps. Pituffik Space Base, ex-Thule, tracks ICBMs, hosts 800 U.S. troops already. Add Greenland? Unrivaled Arctic dominance, resonates post-Ukraine, Taiwan tensions, China's Belt and Road creeps north. But Denmark owns it. Autonomous territory since 2009 home rule. Copenhagen funds 60% budget, $500 a year. Greenlanders poll 60% for eventual independence, but from whom? Trump 1.0 offered 100B, laughed off. Now 2026, Vance visits Nuuk, Rubio memos demand mining rights first, rejected again. Escalation clock ticks. 20-day deadlines rumored. Why momentum? Post-Venezuela, Maduro's grip snatched, shows Washington executes. Leverage isn't cash alone. It's the full stack. Policymakers in D.C. bet Denmark cracks under isolated pressure. NATO ally too small to fight. They half remember history. Alaska 7.2 meticalers from Russia 1867. Virgin Islands 25 meticalers from Denmark 1917. But forgot, sovereignty bends via death by thousand cuts. Trump's playbook unfolds in phases, predictable to anyone mapping incentives. Phase 1, economic isolation. Hit Denmark's 400B GDP where it hurts. Slash Thule ops funding. U.S. pays $200 million a year already. Pull it. Freeze NATO contributions. Denmark's 1.4% GDP share. Tariffs, 25% on 15B. Danish exports. Lego bricks, Carlsberg beer, Novo Nordisk insulin, Maersk ships. Greenland direct, cut $500 subsidies cold. Watch Nuuk's fuel imports spike 40%, fish processing plants shutter. Rational locals pivot, polls shift, 20-25% now, open to U.S. protection, per John 6 surveys, up from 10%. Float payments, $50K per head, 3B total, for autonomy under U.S. umbrella. Families earning $35K median bite. Schools, roads promised. Phase 2, hybrid soft-hard power. U.S. doubles Thule to 2,000 troops. F-35 squadrons overhead, routine patrols. Normalized presence. Flyovers nuke. Helicopters deliver aid. Sanctions target Danish firms at Kvanefjeld. Kvanefjeld stalled by Copenhagen green vetoes. U.S. counter, fast-track permits, fund 2B roads, ports. Scholarships for 1,000 Inuit youth to U.S. tech schools. Clinics stamped America helps. Divide elites. Pay Nuuk Parliament $100 development grants. Bypass Copenhagen. Local parties splinter. Pro-U.S. faction grows from 15% to 35% in months. Media buys. Greenland Daily News runs U.S. partnership inserts. Phase 3, the military creep. Options activated. Hegseth Scenarios aren't tanks on ice. Picture instability response. Stage minor riots. Subsidies cut sparks them naturally. Marines evacuate Americans. Secure nuke airport temporarily. 5,000 troops stabilize under UN self-determination cover. Greenland's 2008 Act allows independence referendum. Rig it. U.S. funds campaigns, 51% yes to union with protector. Denmark protests UN. U.S. vetoes Security Council. NATO Article 5, absurd, ally on ally. Europe distracted, post-Trump EU tariffs, Ukraine aid fatigue. Rubio's Jan 6 memo outlines. Acquire via plebiscite, recognize instantly. This sequence unmasks the territorial acquisition fantasy. States sell land like real estate. Realities? Power asymmetries compound daily. Denmark's economy ties 70% to EU-US trade. Tariffs alone shave 2% GDP. Greenland's broke without subsidies. Fisheries, tourism barely cover 2024 break-even. US lifeline, fish quotas in US waters. Thule jobs, 10% local employment. Leverage snowballs. Prediction markets hit 40%, U.S. control by 2027, 65% mining concessions extracted. Foreseeable? Layers deep. Danish krone crashes 8 to 12% on announcement. Copenhagen begs Brussels. EU strains, offers 1B Band-Aid. Greenlanders fracture. Young miners, unemployment 12%, want U.S. jobs. Elders fear cultural erasure. Payments sway 40% threshold. Post-grad mechanics, the under-discussed wealth transfer phase. U.S. firms, Rio Tinto, Energy Fuels, MP Materials, flood in. 1T reserves. Pentagon claims 70% for defense stockpile, bans exports. Windfall, rare earth prices dip 20% short term. Monopoly flood, rebound 50% long. Winners, 5 DC contractors, 5,000 high-pay jobs. Locals get 20%. Losers, Inuit communities, tailings pollute hunting grounds, housing booms priced out. Concentrated benefits, rare earth packs pour $20 lobbying, exemptions carved via NDAA riders. Diffuse costs, global EV batteries plunge 15%, iPhone chips precious. Imbalance vast, upstream miners thrive, downstream assemblers, Apple, Tesla, absorb, freeze hiring. National security bypasses Congress. Emergency powers via IEPA, no votes needed. Greenland, no adversary. NATO partner, shares intel. Punish? Burns bridges. Denmark pulls frigates from Baltic ops. While U.S. digs, rivals pounce. China-Russia Inc. Svalbard deals. Alaska pipelines. Contracts slip. Norway diverts gas east. Erosion slow. German EVs source Congo dearer. U.S. firms lose edge. Media framing fixates. Trump versus mute clips. Annexation horror panels. Patriot defiance spins. Missing? Structure. Who captures trillion-dollar minerals? Policy to battery blur hides it. Firms cheer shielded deposits. No green tech leaps, just state grabs. Nuke factory? Volatile troops chill capex. Wages stagnate, OT cuts. Power map crystallizes. Extraction lobbies craft rules. Frame private rents as public shields. Greenlanders? 56K fragmented voices. Policies nationalize rhetoric. Arctic fortress. Privatize extraction, Halliburton roads. Risk socializes down, locals resilient. Rewards up, execs extract. Inequality. Subsidy axe hits fixed incomes hardest. Inuit hunters lose ice trails. Generational bomb. Inuit youth chase anchorage dollars. Elders watch traditions melt. Policies normalize emergencies. DoD fast-track spaces. Oversight evaporates. Democracy strains. Territorial votes bypass voters. Zoom to factory floor. Imagine nuke port. U.S. cranes unload. Locals load fish for cents. Tailings seep fjords. Seals tainted. Daily grind. Miner earns 60K. Rents 3K month boom. Not crisis. Creep. Global ripple, fortress mimicry explodes. Canada fortifies Nunavut Islands. Russia seizes Spitsbergen claims. Mexico walls Arctic approaches. Lesson, squeeze autonomies, watch realignments harden. UN showdown brews. Trump demands plebiscite observer status. Denmark vetoes. U.S. cuts UNESCO funds. Referendum engineering. U.S. NGOs train election officials. 55% pro-U.S. under duress. Everyday U.S. angle. Tesla Model Y battery. $800 traces Greenland neodymium controls. Grocery rare earth fertilizers nudge food 3%. Not headline, incremental, Trump's not bluffing. Maduro playbook scales. Allies balk rhetorically. Physics favors power. Post-2024 re-election, midterms lock GOP Senate. Hegseth confirmed SecDef March. Counterpaths. What could stop it? Denmark-EU alliance hardens. Brussels offers 5B autonomy fund. NATO invokes solidarity. Greenlanders unify independence first. No flags. China bids 200B infrastructure. No troops. Locals poll spikes anti-U.S. International law. ICJ case on self-determination. U.S. walks. But overreach unites Scandinavia. Sweden, Finland base northern ops. Deeper pivot. Why Greenland now? Arctic Council collapsed 2022. Russia out. Lomonosov Ridge claims heat. China's Polar Silk Road ports. Trump's calculus sees first mover on 13% global rare earths. Greenland holds. Beyond minerals, Guyuk gap control. Subs track Russia Atlantic. Bases ring pole. Lobby underbelly, rare earth giants. Linus Arafura, poor 50 Mellersers whisper, China takeover nightmares. Downstream, Tesla lobbies quiet, absorbs costs. Asymmetry seals, 10 firms versus millions. Extend to phase 4, post-referendum lock-in. U.S. recognizes independent Greenland instantly. 10B aid package, bases permanent. Denmark sues. ICJ stalls decade. Greenland Parliament U.S. aligned. Mining laws rewritten overnight. 500B FDI floods. Roads, airports, 5G. Locals get 10% royalties, 50B fund. Environment, waivers galore, glaciers drill tested. Economic model, Alaska Redux. Oil checks made hunters middle class. Rare earths do same, but costs. Culture commodified, land leased forever. Human costs deep dive. Inuit hunter in Ilulissat. Seals scarce from warming, now tailings. U.S. clinic heals, but languages fade. English mandatory schools. Youth suicide rates, world's highest. Drop short from jobs. Spike long from identity loss. Not abstract. 2025 polls show 30% willing trade culture for cash. Global realignment risks. Europe de-risks. Norway doubles Barents rigs. EU funds Iceland bases. Russia laughs. Arctic military districts merge gains. China. Near Arctic state builds icebreakers fleet to 60. U.S. domestic blowback. Congress splits. Progressives cry colonialism. MAGA cheers manifest destiny. Midterms 2026. Greenland ads boost Rust Belt jobs. Courts challenge IAIPA. SCOTUS 6-3 upholds. What if it works? Maps redraw, 51st state, territory like Puerto Rico. Pituffik expands to 20K personnel. Rare earth monopoly drops China's share from 90% to 40%. EV prices stabilize, defense stockpile triples. What if it fails? Backlash. NATO fractures. Denmark pulls troops. EU tariffs U.S. autos 50%. Greenland goes China orbit. Ports leased Beijing. Markets price it now. Rare earth futures plunge on 12%. Danish bonds, 200 BPs. Everyday chain. Your iPhone magnet? Greenland dust. Missile nose cone? Same. Policies distant till prices tick. Trump's trap. Overplay unites foes. Fortress Greenland possible but costly. Deeper capitalism. Frontiers fuel concentrated grabs. Lobbies frame necessity. Public pays rents. Rethink Arctic NATO pact, shared mining, no seizures. Picture nuke 2030. U.S. flags fly, ice gone, locals sidelined. Paths converge. Coercion arithmetic wins short. Adaptation long. Cycles eternal. Grabs, booms, busts. Different tundra, same math. Extend further. Historical parallels unpacked. Denmark sold Virgin Islands 1917. German U-boat fear. Russia, Alaska 1867. Crimea costs. Trump channels both. Security cloak for resources. Difference, 2026 tools. Sanctions regimes. Info ops. Payment apps to wallets. Legal labyrinth. UN Charter Article 73. Administering powers. Self-determination, Res 1514. U.S. argues decolonize from Denmark. Greenland preps 2030 independence anyway. Trump accelerates, claims midwife. Economic modeling. CBO scores, 200B decade cost. Bases, buyout. Returns, 1.5T minerals, 500B shipping fees. Net positive, if locals pacified. Lobby ecosystem. Rare Earth Institute, 30 mammometers annual. Members Lockheed, Raytheon. Versus Sierra Club Greenland chapter, 10 staff. Cultural erosion metrics. Language shift. Greenlandic use drops 15% post-U.S. influx models. Suicide correlations. Economic boom, job loss, mismatch. Arctic climate amplifier. Mining accelerates melt. Feedback loops. U.S. greenlights uranium despite sea rise drowning villages. Counter narratives. Mute Egede tour. Sovereign Inuit nation. Polls hold 55% independence neutral. Global South echo. Venezuela watches. U.S. playbook for us? Tech angle. Starlink blankets ICE. U.S. data sovereignty. Quantum sensors test missile defenses. Workers' lens. Nook welder. 40K U.S. contract versus 25K Danish. Takes it. Family relocates. Fortress Greenland, possible via squeeze. Trump calculates, post-re-election, low domestic cost. Denmark folds, 60% odds under pressure. Markets reroute power. Arithmetic rules ICE too.